Hello, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, depending on where you're watching this from. My name is Paul, and some of you already know me on this program. This is ABPL Live Share, and the program is Why I Did Not Give Up. So I have a fantastic guest this evening. His name is Victor Bamisaye. He's someone that a lot of people know. So, and why do I have him here today? I have him here today because he's one of those young guys who could have given up at some point in their life, but did not give up. And that's why that's the purpose of this platform. The purpose of this platform actually is to showcase young Africans who are zealous, who are ambitious, who are dreaming big, all right, who are focused on their life goals. So we want to, portray them using this platform. We want to tell the African story by ourselves. This is not, different from the way CNN or BBC will portray us. So it is high time we begin to portray ourselves. Let us begin to share our own stories, tell our own stories by ourselves. So that is what this platform is meant for. And so I have like I said earlier, a wonderful young man, Victor Bamisaye. So, Victor.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening to you, sir. And hello to
How are you?
Very fine. Thank you for inviting me to your platform, sir. It's a privilege I do not take for granted.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
So we just go straight to the questions so that we don't waste our time because of our viewers.
All right.
But before we go, I'd like my viewers to know that this is going to be very, very interesting. I'm going to be asking Victor some questions that, and I'm expecting him to do justice to those questions. So please feel free to ask your own question. I will be seeing your comment from here, and I can actually ask your question from him. So this platform has enabled me to be able to do that. So thank you very much. So Victor, please tell us briefly about yourself, just in case there's someone watching us who does not already know you.
Well, my name is Bamisaye Victor, and I am a Nigerian who currently live in Ukraine. In Ukraine for the past 7 years I've been, and I had my MBBS training here. So which means as of this moment, I am a medical doctor. And currently I'm pursuing my specialization in the field of psychiatry. How long I'll spend there, I don't know. But I'm just trying to enjoy the wave and the moment for as long as it lasts. Yeah, I'm only trying to live my life to be who I am. And to do that, I've learned to leverage on opportunities, on platforms, on discussions that can help shift the global, regional, national, and local paradigms, to where it should be ideally. And probably idealism is not something that will be achieved overnight, but who are we to stop trying just because we are nowhere near there yet? So I'm trying my best to be myself, and in being myself, I believe I can contribute my quota towards making the world a better place. And like I know, and like I've always told people, making the world a better place is a gigantic, is quite an Herculean task for one man. But I know the difference between the world and my world. And I know that if I could do the best for my world, I would equally be contributing my quota in making the world a better place. So I am doing that by making my world a better place through the use of service. So I've committed my life to a lifelong dedicated service to humanity, and by doing that, I believe I'm part of the team that is going to make the world a better place. Thank you so much, sir.
That's a long interview. Anyway, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
My question is still, I'm starting to know you. I want to get to know you. I want my audience as well to get to know my guest. So I hope you don't mind that I will be going to your background now. All those things all those things you have said, they are very, very beautiful. But I am much more interested in where do you come from, you know? So what? So those are the skyscrapers. But I want to go into the foundation. So please
travel.
tell us about your upbringing and your your background. Just and try to please speak up. Just a little more volume. All right. So
Okay.
please tell us.
All right. So I was born in the city, or probably we'll call it a town, called Ikare Akoko in Ondo State. I was born to both now deceased Ademola and Olukemi Bamisaye. My dad is from Oye local government in Ekiti State, and I believe yourself, you're from Oye local government. So, and funny enough or good enough, my dad was a chief in your town. Yeah, he was a chief in Itakpa. Yeah,
I think so.
So, yeah, he was a politician, and I grew up with two siblings, and I have an elder sister and a younger brother, and yeah, so growing up was interesting. I mean, with two siblings and two parents who were just living their life, and yeah, and the best thing any kid could ask for, any child could ask for, is to have an atmosphere of love where his parents or our parents are available. And so I had that, and that was much what my upbringing was about. And my parents were strict. Well, we know what it means, what parenting means in Africa. So I believe everybody can relate. So yeah, they were like that, loving, caring, but yet strict. And they helped me with some of the worldviews that I have now. They helped me to define a few things from a very young age. And yeah, so my childhood was one of discipline. And, funny enough, the two things I found each of them reading are the two most important books in my life today. So my dad was always reading the newspaper, and my mom was always reading the Bible. So now I got the two. Now I have both the newspaper and I have the Bible, and those two are a part of my everyday life. So yeah,
that is very good.
That's much.
In one of your videos, I saw, and that was the first time I learned. That's just about 2 or 3 days ago, that you are from Oye local government, and that Bamisaye, the ex-governor, I mean chairman of our local government, was your dad. So I was wondering, wow, I must have known this boy, or at least maybe I know your dad, because my dad is a politician and very influential at that in my town. So, and every politician in the Ekiti State, then they just have to come to our house, severally, including governors and all of them. So, and the name Bamisaye as far yellow government is not something that I am not familiar, even though I cannot picture the face itself, but I mean my brain can actually connect the name itself. So I am happy today that I have somebody from my town, from my village, from my locality.
My pleasure.
And it's a pleasure. I'm so happy, even though I'm not surprised, because I am someone that expects so much from an average Ekiti person. Honestly, when I see an average Ekiti person, I expect to see somebody who is a no-nonsense. I expect to see somebody who is upright. But unfortunately, there are so many Ekiti young guys now who have turned themselves to nuisance, and I'm just wondering what's wrong with them. Anyway, so and I would say I'm not surprised by your upbringing of kind of discipline and all of that. So I think every Ekiti person has his own fair share of that.
Probably that's why they call them Ekiti Parapo.
No, that's not. Ekiti Parapo means they join together.
Yeah, so they are jointed together in such discipline.
Yeah, you are right. You're right.
Yes,
So,
sir.
I just go to the next question for you.
Yes, please.
My next question is I hope this is not going to be seen as being controversial to you, but I want you to, as a young man, I want you to look at it constructively.
Yes, sir.
So I would say that you are one of those privileged kids. I mean, when your parents were here, being the son of an ex-chairman, I would say you are privileged. All right. So and the reason I'm saying this is because I know what an average Ekiti boy goes through in Ekiti. And I know what an average Nigerian, I mean, people of your age, people of my age, I know what we go through. All right. And so being the son of a politician, or I mean, at that level, even at that level, I know it's not much, but even at that level, so it will make me suggest that you were one of those privileged kids. Am I wrong?
Well, privilege would have to be redefined or defined, because privilege is not about, it's not just about uh, having people around, or having resources, or having, in fact, even money. Privilege would be and would mean to have someone who deeply cares about you, would go any mile for you, so you can become someone in life, so you can amount to something, so you can become, you can achieve your wildest dream. And dream, of course, is always within the context and content of what you know. And so, for me, I would concede that I was privileged. I was privileged to have such wonderful parents who would do those that I mentioned before for me, who would go any mile, who would travel any distance, to see that I become someone of reckoning in life. And so when you look at the people we call less privileged. They are not necessarily less privileged because they do not have resource. Yes, resource is also a very important stuff, but one why I've come to this definition is because even though I had all of those, but one of the first things I realized after the demise of my parents was that hardly would you find anybody to care for you like your parents would. And so,
Of course.
and when you do find such a person, you've left the category of being less privileged. So, and at the end of the day, everything is about fulfillment and finding happiness. And if you find someone who could be a shelter, a covering for you while you do that, I think you are privileged. So, yeah, I was privileged.
All right. That's good. I love the wisdom.
Thank you, sir.
That's very good. All right. So somebody was saying that she thought that Ekiti people were known for knowledge, and I said yes, we are known for knowledge and still known for knowledge. Ekiti people. I mean, some time ago in Nigeria, it was said that Ekiti has the highest number of professors. I don't know if that is true, but this is what we believe. When I was growing, I mean, I am from the 80s. All right. So, and when I was growing, if you bring a car from Lagos or Ibadan to the village, people will begin to gossip and say, when did he graduate? What is his level of education that he now has a car? So for them, for the average people, I mean, person in Ekiti at that time, not now, education was the main thing. It was the major thing. If you don't proceed beyond secondary school, it is believed that you are just going to end up being a guy on the street, or just working in the farm or something.
Which so many of them did.
Of course, of course, of course. But it's unfortunate that I don't think that Ekiti people are still, that passionate about education. Even though I believe there are some of them, I mean, a lot of them, including myself, we're still passionate about education. I'm, I am proud of a young guy like you, a young man like you have done good. I mean, done very well for yourself. You are a medical doctor now, and they're proceeding in your education. So I'm very, very proud of you. All right. And, I know that you're a very, very young man. So kudos.
Thank you, sir.
So now, building on the previous question, I want you to do a kind of comparison or an analysis, of the average parenting in Nigeria, because this is something that I am passionate about. Okay, I am passionate about the youth. I am passionate about parenting. In fact, everything that concerns the family is my problem. All right, this is a responsibility that I have accepted. To an average person from Ekiti, it may be crazy to him, but sincerely, this is the contract that I have signed. All right, so I want to know what's your view of parenting in Nigeria, and I want you to do a kind of a brief comparison with yours, if that is possible.
Well, parenting is always and most often determined by the prevailing value system in the society. There's an adage in Yoruba that says it takes a parent to give birth to a child, but the whole community to parent that child. Yeah. So it is the dominating value system that actually most of the time determine the kind of parenting a child would get, and the influences from the society has a very major a role to play. However, it takes parents who themselves have discovered themselves to some certain extent, maybe by circumstance or by commission or by omission, have been able to cut a niche and edge for themselves where they've been able to define some certain parameters that are not hinged on the prevailing societal values. And so for me, I had a parent who had experienced to a very large extent betrayal of friends. So they've had friends who had betrayed them from very young age, while they were still young. And so with that mindset, probably also growing up with the polygamist their parents were polygamists, and so with the kind of mindset and the environment they grew up, they wanted something better for us. So with that shaped their values. It helped them shape us into people who would not conform. And so hardly would anybody actually pass through my parents and would be a conformist. I think it's impossible, especially with my dad. And so if you look at my siblings, you will see exactly the same trait. So we are non-conformist, but that's because my parents went against the normal set of values that was in the society. My mom would for nothing be corrupt. She just will not cheat anybody for anything. And so when she passes such a value to me, I hold it straight. And one of the things that the best-selling book in the world, and this book has stood for the test of time. It has stood centuries and is still the best-selling. But in one of the books, in one of the chapters in that book, it says, "Train up your child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it." And you see, there's a difference between training and teaching. You see, you can teach by writing some things on the chalkboard, but when you have to train, is commensurate to coaching. So once you train, you have to show people how stuffs are done, how this thing is done. So they see you, they see the example in you, and that's what training is. And so when I look at my parents and the way they behaved and the way they did certain things, of course they were not perfect. They had their imperfections, just like I still do mine now. And quite a lot of things I'm even beginning to realize the older I get, why they had to make some of the mistakes they made. And of course, because I've seen them made it, I have an edge and I'm not making such mistakes. But the truth remains that the values they have held on to, which were the right ones and were the dominant ones in the household that I grew up in, helped form me. I'll give you an example. My mom was not pushing me to get a job. She was not pushing me to have a career. She was pushing me to get purpose, to know who I am. The same thing with my dad.
Wow.
So I realized that I always wanted to be two things, or three actually, or maybe four, all my life since I was a child. And those are still constant. Yes, I may switch and alternate in between them, but those are still constant till now. Why? Because as at a young age, I was able to discover what my preferences were. And yes, of course, I was limited because of the environment. I can't imagine what I would have been if I was living somewhere like Europe, I believe I would have had more opportunities, and I would have been able to see more possibilities. But with what was obtainable then, the parenting my own parents did were value based, real value based, and they were not based on the society. I'll give you another example. Growing up, there was this thing we called Walkman. We called it Walkman. Almost every kid had one, and if you called me whatever it was, I ought to have too. I mean, people whose parents were peasants, so to say, those children had Walkman. They had almost everything they wanted to have. I mean, what we call gadgets nowadays. The Walkman was that stuff with cassette that you put earpiece, and the list was Palito. Even a Palito I did not have. Now, my parents told me that the measure of who you are is not in what you can accumulate now, but what you can accumulate for later. And so since then, I was always gunning to get more information in my head. So with more information, I was able to make better informed choices. And the truth is, I have never been at the same pace, at the same place with people who were my classmates or my age mates. And this is not to brag, it is just the fact, it's the truth. Because when my mates were watching cartoon, like I told you, I was reading newspaper, I was watching CNN, I was watching NTA News. I knew what was going on in the world. So my mates had always had to play catch up to me, and that was because of the kind of training my parents gave me, because it was value based. So I didn't have a Palito, not because I couldn't afford one, but because my parents would not allow me have one, because to them it was going to be a distraction. I would become so materialistic and not chase the real thing. So you can imagine those. I mean, the few examples I've given you now. It's antithetical. It's an antagonist. It's in direct opposition to what is prevalent in the culture, where people are only chasing money, people are only chasing jobs, where people are raised to be selfish and egocentric. So those made the difference. And so if I would advise any parent now, I would say, if you have not discovered yourself, you should do that. Because if you have not discovered yourself, instead of being an asset to your child or to your children, you'd be a liability. So yes, find a way to discover yourself and push your children to discover themselves too. Raise them in the right values, and not just to be narcissistic or egoist or people with low self-esteem. Train them with the right things. Take the love of material away from their eyes. Let them know that money, for instance, is something you use, but people are to be loved, and not the other way around.
Oh, this is wonderful. This is sweet. Honestly, I wish your mother were to be here. I would give her a big hug.
Well,
This is wonderful. You see, this is what an average child, not only in Nigeria, anywhere in the world, this is what an average child lacks. You see, I have read so many studies about the implication of bad parenting on the children. All right. So you see, when your parents, let's just look at Nigeria, for instance, because when I look at these situations, I want to cry. When you look at the parents that are not educated, if your parents, there's a particular study that says if your parents are not educated, there is a very high chance that you will not be educated. All right. So because your mom already understands purpose, I mean, she already understood purpose, she was able to sell it to you.
And probably because she understood it at a late time. she didn't understand it.
Yeah, that is actually possible. That's actually possible. But the truth is that eventually she was able to mold you into what you are today. All right. See, you talked about teaching. I'm a trained teacher. All right. So I define teaching as being able to show somebody how to do something. All right. And until that child or that student is able to produce or replicate the information, teaching has not taken place. You need to read my book, and let me use this opportunity to tell my viewers that my book is available right now. especially for those who are in Nigeria. It has been released in on Okada Books tonight. All right, it will be available probably on Amazon tomorrow, and it is titled "My Experience, My Experiments with Common Sense." My experiments with common sense. You see, I talked a lot about about education, the failing education in the world right now, you know, and it's appalling in Africa. All right, and then the impact and effect of parents or good parenting on the children, it cannot be overemphasized. All right, so that's about teaching about my book. And then I want to use this opportunity to say thank you to Mr. Stephen Ilegbede. He's the one that's actually partnering with us to make this a possibility. So I am very, very grateful to him. So Victor, back to you. Now, I know this might not be, your conventional interview where you have to talk about yourself and all of that, but there's going to be an opportunity for that. You know, I am looking at you from distance. I've been studying you for a while now, you know, to kind of see what kind of mentality you have. So, and that is the motivation behind the questions that I am asking you and the questions that I'll be asking you. All right. So it's not just like come and tell us about your school and your activities. I expect you to put that in your response actually, but I warn you, just like I said earlier, I actually did not want to tell you my questions. Ahead. Usually 2 to 3 days before the interview, I would have sent out my questions. But I decided that this boy is from my locality, so I want the world to know what is made up of. All right. So, but then I'm proud of you. All right. I want you to know that I am very, very proud of you. All right. Good job. So now I'm going back to the youth, and you are a youth, and I'm already seeing you as a leader in the making. So how can we solve the problem of attitude among the Nigerian youth? Attitude and value system. How can you, an average youth like yourself, the ones that are informed like myself, how can we make impact on those ones that have attitude problem and value problem?
Wow. Thank you for that well thought questions. When it comes to values and decadence, or the values and the exaltation of it thereof, we would have to look at first what is on ground currently. What is on ground? What do we have? And if you look at Nigeria, you'll find out that we have decadence. We basically lack values. But that will not be to say we lack all the values or everybody lacks values. It's impossible for those to be.
That would be wrong.
Now we need to find out what are those values that we do not have that are making us lag behind, and we need to find out what is the population of our people, or at least what is the demography that this concerns. And when you look at it now, you'll find out that we have a generation that has passed that actually did not take anything called value, majority of them. And so because they didn't take it, they didn't have it. And because they did not have it, they could not give it to us. And so if we continue also in that line, we will not be able to give it to the coming generation. And this is why you've seen that over the years, there has been a degradation of values, and the way our values have been degrading, you can see that our economy, everything has also been falling with it. So what can we do? We need to set out what are the right values. The right values of asking questions. You can find out that averagely in an average African home today, questions are not allowed. And the same thing has moved up to our institutions, where if they ask, do you understand, in primary school, you dare not raise up your hand even though you do not understand. Because if you are the one asking questions, you will be vilified. And when you went to secondary school, you cannot even air your opinion about how things are going. It got to the university, something policies are brought up that will affect the students, you dare not talk, because if you talk, you are going to be made a victim of your own goodwill. And so we have a nation now that cannot ask questions. And so we are wondering, why is it that political leaders are doing us this way? Why is it that our religious leaders are moving this way? It is because the backbone of every nation is built on the questions they are able to ask. In fact, a wise man once said that I do not judge you by what you say or the answers you have, but by the questions you have. It is known that the, the, the inventions that have been made, the progress that has been made, has always been on the backbone of questions. And so a nation that cannot ask questions is a nation that cannot progress. So you can see that the value of question as that it is very important. And so we must bring that back. We must be able to encourage people to ask questions. We must stop punishing those who disagree with our views. We must be able to allow ourselves to be questioned and to also ask questions. And so you again look at citizen responsibility. What do the people know about citizen responsibility? The people in Nigeria actually it's like they are alien to citizen responsibility. That is the idea why people litter the ground. That is the idea why people don't pay tax. That is the same reason why people would rather embezzle money, or even those who do not embezzle. But the idea is that they just will look away from the degrading society. They will look away from that very poor child. They will look away from that child that is not going to school. They will look away from their dirty environment. They do not even have an understanding of what it means to hold their nation or their political office holders or their leaders in any field to account. They do not know anything about citizen responsibility. So when you look at that, you find out that it's also a value that we must fix. So who are those that we need to concentrate on? It is not just the youth. We should concentrate on everybody. And how can we do that? There are two ways by which you can instill values. We either do that by legislation. Legislation must be backed with law, with the full force of cause and effect. You don't do this, you face the consequence, and it must be brutal. It must be dire. We must go into it with full force. Something like the way you had it in the time of Buhari, when you are the first General Buhari, when you had kick against war against indiscipline. That type
Kai,
that Singapore did through their former president Yonggi Cho. Yeah, right? No, not Yonggi Cho. Sorry, I just missed his name with the Korean pastor. Lee Kuan Yew. Sorry, Lee Kuan Yew. So we must be able to do proper legislation that is fully backed with cause and effect. That is fully backed with, you break the law, you face the full force of the law. Then we must do that also by propagation. And so to be able to do legislation, you must have power. And I mean by that, I mean political power. But to do propagation, you do not need to have political power. You just need to have willpower. The will to say, I am going to be this one person who is going to show and shine forth the light of these values that I understand. You must be able to stand up and say, I'm going to affect the people around me, and they too are going to be apostles of these correct values. And you see, I believe so much in the power of one, because many times it only takes one idea, one man, one breath, one step. You know what I mean when I say one? One is so powerful that one can multiply. One is the power of binary. That one that becomes another one and another one and another one. And so you have what we know today as a computer system through the power of one. Binary started with one stroke. So I believe in the power of one. I know the multiplicity of one. I know what it means to have one seed and plant one seed. It gives birth to so many fruits. There are so many seeds in it again. I believe I know what one means. So I am always saying I want to be that one if that's what it takes. And that's why I have dedicated my own life to service. I've dedicated my whole life, and many times I think about longevity. I know the roads are hard. I know to be that one. I know there's a risk. I know, and many times I get scared. But well, until one has found something to die for, he hasn't found a reason to live. And so I'm going to stand up with my willpower to do the best I can through propagation. And that is why I've decided to release a book on the 29th of May, 2018. It will be called Rebirth. how values can transform a nation as complex as Nigeria. And so I've brought in Nigeria's case scenario and I've merged it and I've put it inside principles, and I've brought in case studies from all over the world best practices, and to the reality of what we have in Nigeria. And I've been able to prove in that book that values can turn us around overnight. And so we have to be able to do that via legislation and by propagation. And so you may say, oh, I do not have the political power, but I want to remind you that you as one are powerful, and the power you need now is willpower. You need the power of will to be able to get this done. And you and I can change that country. That's exactly what we can do. We are that powerful.
Well, that's a good one. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm actually, I think you took a kind of long on a long-term solution. All right.
Yes, sir.
Because as you and I, as we are right now, you, me, and a few others who have the kind of mentality that we have, we probably don't have the power yet to influence policy.
Yes.
We probably don't have what it takes yet to influence the law.
Yes.
Right. So I would have, want you to streamline to what can you. I know you've been doing some things. All right. I know you've been doing some things, but I'm saying, what can we do? Because before I used to think all that matters is just me. And that's why one of the problems that Nigerians have. We always, fight for ourselves, individual self. Oh, me, my family. That's why people embezzle money. Me, myself, my village. All right. But we are not looking at the big picture. So what I'm saying is that how can we, those that have our kind of mentality, what can we do? Just take about 2 minutes, because I still have some bone cracking questions for you. So just about 1 or 2 minutes.
Well, I think I entered what we can do in that my very long answer, and it all always boils down and trickles back down to citizen responsibility. We must be able to take responsibility. We must be able to stand, to propagate, to speak, and not just to speak, to do, to show. And so, for instance, in that regard, that's why I have started my foundation, the Bamisaye Victor Foundation, and we are standing on about 4 legs. And one of those which we are fully activated is the one that tackles illiteracy in Nigeria. And tackling illiteracy, one of the first ways we are doing that is to put kids back to school. People who, without us, would not have been able to afford such an education. You know what it means for primary school education to be a luxury? That's
Can you imagine?
as bad as that. It's as bad as that. And this is not public education I'm talking about, and this is not private education. I'm talking about public education. Public education that ought to be the right of every child. They just cannot access this. That's how poverty, that's how underprivileged people are. And so I am not rich. I am probably even sometimes still struggling to make ends meet. But I have decided to live above myself. I've decided to be that channel. And so I have taken responsibility. And so I'm not just talking, I am also equally showing. And a few people have seen what I'm doing and are saying, yes, we can do this too. And they've been inspired by what we are doing. So what can you do? What can I do? We can talk, but beyond talking, we can begin to act. And people will be inspired more by our actions. And so if, for instance, you decide to stop littering the ground, the floor, and or the street, and you can speak to 1 or 2 people to do that, I think there's always a bandwagon effect that follows. So, but you first have to believe in the power of one. You have to believe in the power of you being able to stand up to your conviction, even if it means doing that alone. And so I think that's what we can do. It's always about taking responsibility.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love the fact that you address the issue of individuals taking up responsibility. That it is my responsibility. Just like I've said earlier, that I have accepted the responsibility for youths, but I've accepted responsibility for family. It's it's kind of crazy at times when I think about it. But well, it's something that I'm willing to die for. It's something that I'm willing to live for. All right. So, and I love a lot of the things that you have mentioned, because in fact you need to read my book. Let me just for short. You just have to read the book. You will see, you get a grip of these things you are mentioning. I mean, you are talking about. You get a grip of it in that book. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
this time around, I am not going to ask you about your parents anymore, but because I know they are both deceased, and I know a lot of people are already aware of that. But now the big question is, a lot of people, have excuse that, oh, I couldn't pursue my dream because my parent died. Oh, I couldn't pursue my dream because there was no one to help me. In fact, that's the kind of story that I should be telling, even though my parents are not deceased. But if no one to help me, there's no one to help me, could have been my story. All right. So I want to ask a young guy like you, studying abroad, even after your parents are deceased. So why did you not give up? I have seen a few Nigerians abroad who have even turned, I mean, a non-entity, who have turned a kind of disgrace. I mean, sorry to say, but that's the truth. All right. So, but a young man like yourself, why is it that giving up wasn't an option?
Well, how does one answer this question without sounding vain, or also not taking responsibility, or at the same time not showing um, uh, uh, concern, and not showing, not admitting the fact that, of course, I'm also privileged. I'm also privileged. I'm not, I'm insulated, so to say, because not everybody will be in my condition would make it, and not necessarily because they've decided not to make it. So how does one balance that? And so this is how I am thinking about it. And so please give me a minute to put my thoughts together. But I am thinking that, number one, I didn't give up not because I had that solid decision, and of course I had the decision not to give up. I had the will not to give up. But I don't think it rests solely on that. I think it also aimed on the fact that one or two people are able to say we are going to support you. But however,
Mm,
the internal integrity matters first before the external support. So I think the two must be acknowledged. I must acknowledge the fact that there were one, two, three, four people who were saying, "No, we are there for you. We got your back. If it has to be on us, you are going to go through this stage. We don't know about the next stage, but at least through this stage, we are going to go through." And so the will, the desire, the temerity, the tenacity that I had to say no, I am going to stand up straight. I'm going to consider what is the worst case scenario, and if it has to be back on that, and I'm going to release a book by November that I've titled "Back on My Feet," and I'm going to detail quite a lot of things in the book. But that tendency to say, what is my worst case scenario? And I considered my worst case scenario, and I'm saying if I'm falling back down there, then I have to be able to turn that rock bottom to solid foundation. And thank goodness I didn't have to hit rock bottom. Thank goodness I didn't fall to the worst case scenario. But I mean, there were things I had to consider, and considering them, I think those were the things that made me strong. And you see, at the end of the day, it is really self assurance. What we call being strong, it is really self assurance, the ability to tell yourself that no matter what, everything is going to be all right. No matter how bad, how messy it gets right now, it's going to end right well. And it's even easier if you have the right concept of God. And so for me, when I have the concept of God, the concept which says, I know the plans I have for you, plans to give you a future and an expected end. And so when I look at that and when I study that, which has become my creed, I'm able to tell myself that it's about the purpose, not the process. The process may be hard, the road may be rough, the oceans, I mean, the oceans I have to glide may be wavy, But it's always about the purpose, not the process. The process I may not understand, but the purpose I know. The purpose is that I'm going to be big. I'm going to survive this. I'm going to be an inspiration to so many. And so that's why every time you hear the name Bamisaye Victor, one thing will always come to mind: from desperation to inspiration, from despair to inspiration. That will always come to mind. So, how did it come that I decided, or how was it that I was able to not give up? First, I must acknowledge, yes, the inner strength, the inner will, the desire to hang on to purpose, even when I do not understand process. But again, I must take time out to appreciate. I must acknowledge the fact that there were one, two, three, four people who decided that even if it is only through this stage that I am at that point in time, that they were always going to be there for me. So, what do I say to people who do not have such? You know what I'll tell you? The same thing I told myself. Those people were not there from the onset. I discovered them as I began to take one step at a time and one step at a time. And I walked up to one corner and I found this person was saying, "Oh, this is who you are. I am going to support you." And I walked to another step and I found another person and said, "Oh, this is who you are. I'm going to support you." And just because I kept taking every step, support kept coming. It kept coming. It kept coming. And it is still coming. So, what do I tell you? Find that inner integrity, find that inner will, and keep taking one step at a time. Keep taking it one step at a time. Find your worst case scenario. If you have to be down, you will not be too disappointed because you know just how far down you can get. And from there, even if it happens that you get to worst case scenario, you would have the fortitude, you would have the strength to turn rock bottom to solid foundation. I believe that was what I did. And I believe that is the principle that makes a guy come from Idomela and then dominate Europe. I think that is the same principle that makes someone like Steve Jobs lose all of his wealth, sacked from his company, and still come back from rock bottom and build an empire on a solid foundation. I think it is that same principle of always first finding the inner integrity and then taking one step at a time. And you will begin to find people who will come to your aid, who will come to partner with you and say, "Yes, we are going to make a legend out of you together." And I thank God for those people who I've had in my life, because without them, I don't think I would have made it this far.
Thank you so much. This is great. You have done a very fantastic job.
Thank you, sir.
And once again, I want to say that I am proud of you.
Thank you, sir.
I am, and I mean that. I'm very, very proud of you. All right. So I still have a few more questions here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
This one, I need you to, take a few seconds, think very well about it. All right. So I want you to tell us, share with us one particular failure experience or experience of failure that you had, and what particular lesson did you learn from it?
Wow.
I
The
want
beauty
you.
about life, and especially my life, is that I've had too many failures. Many of them too small that they have become so inconsequential, and many of them too big that I have decided to develop selective amnesia as it regards them. But I can tell you just this one thing, that of all of my failures, I know the biggest one. The biggest one is that despite all of the challenges, all of the blockades, all of the rough roads, all of the obstacles and hurdles I've had to climb and cross, the biggest failure I've ever had is that I failed to give up. I can tell you that.
Wow. Well, okay. If that's how you decide to answer that question, that's very brave of you. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Now, I want you to, tell us about Vision 2035.
Wow.
In my question, I wanted to, because I'm looking at, oh, what's this young man, what is he talking about? When I saw in a video that you're talking about Vision 2035. So I said, okay, if that's the case, I want to know, I want my viewers to know, is it a vision? Is it a dream? I mean, is it a tangible dream or just a wish?
Who knows tomorrow? And who knows if our lives are for rent? And like the singer said, if everything we have is truly ours. But one thing you can never take from someone is the ability to dream and to stay and to stand by the dreams he has. And sometimes dreams turn into nightmares, but other times dreams develop into vision. And but the road I am plying on, the road I am on now, is the road that dreams are translating into visions, and those visions will come to pass. And even if they do not, that I will still find fulfillment in the fact that I have sojourned on this journey, because many times it's not always about destination, but about the process of getting to that place. And so, what have I decided to be? I've decided to become a leader, and that is what I'm doing right now. Now, the position or the title of presidency, which I aspire for in the year 2035, is a dream. If I get there, good, but I will keep being a leader till that time and beyond that time. And so the dream for 2035 is that by the year 2035, I hope to be the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that is my dream. And I'm doing the best I can to be in the suitable place where Nigerians can see my worth, my value, and what I have to bring to the table, and where I know that there will be so many good choices, but I will stand to be the perfect choice for that time, where no one will be able to say, no, you cannot be, because there will be no reason to say that. And yes, that is exactly what I'm doing. So I am exercising my right to dream, and in exercising it, I'm also working to translate that into a vision, and that vision into a movement that would materialize in the space of time. Yeah, so that's exactly what 2035 is about. It's about showing that child that is going to come after me that everything is possible, that your dreams are valid, and that is what the movement is all about. That many generations to come, they will read about Bamisaye Victor and how he rose from riches to poverty to riches, from greatness to despair.
Dr. Victor.
So it's about inspiring the generation, and that's what our movement is about.
That is very good. I love the concept of that every child has the right to dream.
Yeah.
But have you ever thought that there are children who has no dream?
Well, it's
I
impossible not to have a
recently
dream.
I recently encountered some children in India, and when you ask them, well, what's their dream, they don't have dream. They're not thinking about the future. They're not thinking of wanting to become anything. And I said, wow, this is the first time in my life that you will meet somebody who is not dreaming. I mean, kids. Naturally,
No,
every child has the innate ability to dream.
I'll tell you
So
what.
okay.
I'll tell you what. It's impossible not to have a dream. What is possible is to have a limited dream, or not to be able to express the dreams that you do have. Those children you met, I will tell you one thing, that no matter how much you think they do not have a dream, they want to be relevant within the environment that they are, at the very least. Now, what we need to do is to arm kids with the vision, I mean, with this, with the scope of how big they can dream. They need to be able to see possibilities. We need to expose possibilities to them, because these possibilities is what shifts the borders that is around a man's dream. Because as far as you can see is as far as you can reach, and that is the importance of education. Education exposes you to contemporary and ancient history. It makes you see that people who have achieved great heights do not have anything over you, that you also can be exactly who and what you want to be. So what those kids do not have is the education to be able to vocalize their dream, is the insight, is the scope, is to have seen history, to be able to know the extent to which they can dream. So they do have a dream, but that dream has been limited by their environment. So if they know more, they will dream even more. So we need to, and that's why education is very close to my heart, so that kids will know that they can do better and they can be more than what their immediate environment suggests.
All right. Thank you so much. You've done justice to that. All right. So I guess by the next time I'm given an opportunity to host you again on this program, I guess you and I we are going to be talking about education, and then but before then, I have a few more questions before I let you go.
Okay.
So now, now this Vision 2035, what give birth to it?
All right.
Look, let me tell you this. Why you are ruminating? See, when I was a child in the village, in my village, okay, I don't know, maybe I would say Itakpa is a village or is a town.
It is a village.
Right? You know Itakpa very well?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. So in when I go to the farm, or whenever I'm fortunate to hear the sound of an airplane very far away in the sky, I can hardly see it. Maybe it looks like the tip of my finger. All right, far away in the sky, because there's no airport around the kitty now, so there's no need for any airplane to come down. And then I will just say to myself, that one day I'm going to fly in that thing.
I never did.
All right.
So
because you do not have a.
Yeah. If you had met me in Nigeria, then I would never have said anything about airplane to you, because I never consciously dreamt about it.
So it was one of the dreams that I had, and as I grew up, the dream never dies, even though I had there was no sign that it was going to come to pass. I mean, if you know me some years ago, you will know that it's probably this guy is just deceiving himself. But it did come to pass. All right. So this is the power of dream, which is powerful. All right. And there's a chapter in my book where I illustrate on dream, and actually give this example that I'm sharing with you now, because that book is a way of sharing my experience and true life story to inspire youths out there. So now, and there's a particular place where I said you have to be emotionally and passionately connected with your dream for it to be able to come to pass. So that's why I'm asking you this question: what gave birth to Vision 2035? What bet it?
All right. So from the little I know about dreams, I know it has a whole lot to do with purpose. And from the very little I know about purpose, I know that it is need that gives birth to purpose. And that when a creation is made for a purpose, the purpose is inside that creation. And it's only for you to find out what is this creation meant to do, what is the function, why was it brought in here. And as you are doing those things, you begin to discover more that, oh, it can do this thing too. Oh, yes, it can do this thing. So I believe that as human, that is how we also have been made by God. So for me, I'm looking at it in the sense of, I think I just discovered that as a child, that yes, I can be this. Yes, I think I'm meant to be this. And so I kept that as an idea. So I discovered that I was meant to be, in quote unquote, a preacher, a medical doctor, and I wanted to also study to the point of being a professor. And then I knew I had to do
Because you are
politics
from
to be a
Ekiti now.
president. So I had those four as a child. And so even now, though I do not know, somehow I'm vibrating towards them. Maybe by this time next year, I will be applying for my PhD. Maybe, maybe just very soon, I'll
That'll
just
be
become
good.
professor. And being a professor is not even something I'm actively thinking about, but somehow it's there. Do you understand?
It's,
So
it's,
I think
it's
being
there in the
a president,
subconsciousness.
yes, that was how it came. And somehow I became the president of the Nigerian Student Association in Ukraine. In fact, I founded it. And I didn't do all of those because I imagined 3 years before that, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm going to do. No, I became that because I stood in every moment where responsibility was needed. And I took responsibility. And so that's why I am thinking
Hello.
that all I need to do now towards that is just to keep taking responsibility by being a leader everywhere I find myself. A leader by responsibility and not by title. And so that is why 2035 for me is more of a responsibility than a title. So before 2035, I'm going to keep being a president, a leader in my own space. And if peradventure, if it was ever meant to be, if that dream will come to pass, if that vision will materialize, then good. Yeah, that's the hope that we have. But for me, I think it originated from some sort of secret that has been kept and encoded in my DNA that just popped up as an idea that came as a revelation at one point in time that I cannot even pinpoint now in my childhood. And oh, here I am. Somehow I knew better and I developed, and those ideas developed, and I know better and I'm knowing better. And the more I know, the better I get, the more pinpoint and accurate the dream gets to. So I think that's where it all came from, and the journey is taken as regards 2035.
Thank you, Victor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for dreaming, and thank you for the issue of responsibility. Thank you for being a responsible man. Nigeria needs young men like you.
Thank you, sir.
Honestly, we do. We do need young men like you, and I'm looking forward to you. You know, I'm looking forward to 2035, and in fact, before then, I'm looking forward to all the great things in life that you'll be able to do, and much more than that. I'm looking forward to you being able to inspire other youths. I'm looking forward to you being able to stand in the gap for others and say, I will do it. All right. This is the purpose of responsibility. Thank you so much for this. I have one more question before you go.
Oh, okay, sir.
So my last question is, what is your understanding of success? And do you want to be successful? And why? It is not the usual questions that you deal with, right? I'm sorry, but I just want it to be, I want to get the best of you.
Yeah. Success, some may define it by events, some others may define it by circumstances, happenstance, or being able to achieve a goal. Some may look at it in the overall performance of one's life. Some may bring it and say, we sum up everything and this is the medium and you've gone beyond this cutoff mark or pass mark. Uh, but when it comes to me, I am thinking that success would be to eventually, at the end of my life, be able to say, yes, I ran a good race. Yes, I fulfilled purpose. And if I fulfill purpose, if I ever fulfill purpose, if I ever get to that point where I have fulfilled purpose, I think I'm successful. And yes, do I want to fulfill purpose? I want to fulfill purpose because the hope of so many generations are hinged on that. The dreams of so many people to come are hinged on that. And so I dare not fail them. I dare not fail the generations who have been so much invested in me, whose hopes and dreams are hanged upon how much I perform. I dare not fail them. So I want to be successful. I want to be successful as success in itself. And yes, I can't wait to be successful. But I understand that life is in process, life is in stages, and life is in time. And it's all about patience, and it's all about being able to see the big picture and sacrifice for the big one, and to delay many gratifications. So I will take it a step at a time, and I hope, it is my hope, that at the end of my life, I would have fulfilled every mission that I am here for. And I think, yeah, that is success, and I want to be successful.
Thank you so much, Dr. Victor.
Thank you, sir.
I am very, 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 very glad that I have you.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm hoping that in the future, I'm going to have you, I'm going to host you again. Maybe, maybe level would have changed at that time. You never know. Maybe would have taken this platform even to the next level. You never know. So, but I'm hoping to, I'm hoping to actually do some kind of collaborations with you in the future, because obviously you are the kind of young men that I am looking up to, to be able to partner with in the future. And there's a mentality that I have now that it's not just about you. Whatever you do, it's not just about you. It's about the people that it affects. It's about the people that it impacts. So if we are able to collaborate, if we're able to work together and make much more impact, it's beautiful. All right, it's good. All right, so I'm very, very good. I mean, I love your mentality. Honestly, I'm impressed. Recently I've not been impressed by any young man, sincerely, because it's not, not so easy to impress me. That's the kind of person that I am. I grew up in the village in Ekiti, so for you to impress an Ekiti man, you will have to do a lot of work. So thank you so much. I love your closing statement about the fact that the future of so many people are dependent on us. Oh my God, this makes a lot. It makes a lot of sense. It means a lot to me. And for our viewers there, I want to say thank you very much. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for your comments. And if anyone wants to be featured on this program, you have a story, you have an experience you want to share, please get in contact with me. That's what this platform is meant for. And thank God we already have someone that is sponsoring, that is supporting us in a way. So, and that's kudos to Mr. Stephen Elegbede. I'm very, very grateful, and I'm grateful for having you here today, Dr. Victor. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, sir.
This means a lot to me.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so I'm going to be rounding up now. Thank you so much. Thank you. So just in case you're viewing this for the first time, this is ABPA Live Share, and we're broadcasting live on live videos every weekend like this. So it is to showcase what we have in us, what BBC will not show, what CNN will not show, what they will not showcase about Africa, what they will not showcase about Nigeria. That's what this platform is meant to do. So if you have a story, you have experience you want to share, please contact me. Thank you so much. Dr. Victor, God bless you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right,
bye-bye for now.
Bye.